Hello, everybody, and we're here with special guest Felicity, the almost bionic woman that in her library. You're not you're that's not your pseudonym, is it, Felicity? It's not Jamie Summers, because
No, it's Felicity, and I'll beg you not to forget that it's not Fifi or Phyllis or anything like that. It's Felicity.
where does Fifi come in?
The other four operating, mechanical joints are now bionic. So yes.
So say Felicity, next time maybe you should put Felicity and then your channel name as well, so people can know.
Oh, okay, right. My house is a library. All right, I didn't think of that because Sean's always just Sean, but then that's the name of his channel too. So
yeah, Sean's very imaginative like that. So
yeah,
right.
Hi,
but
Aaron.
I suppose if my name was Standfast, I'd probably want to show it off as well. So
yeah, but nobody seems to be able to say it, so it doesn't matter.
True. Hi, Aaron.
Your first visitor of the evening. Hello, Aaron.
There's actually 3 here, but now it's gone down to 1. Okay, as soon as they say 3, they disappeared.
Gosh, Sean, there you go.
So if Aaron's still here, Aaron's our 1 viewer at this point.
Hi, Aaron.
Certainly, we didn't have Gerald the other day either. So
we didn't. No, yeah. Well, that was last minute, so he was probably
was
busy.
He there on Wednesday?
Yeah, he was there Wednesday, I think. Yeah, okay. I think he was. Yeah, but yeah, yesterday was very last minute. So, and
hi, Alexis.
So yeah, and what's the new acquisitions have you got recently, Felicity, that you could talk about?
Yeah, so the box came, as I was just telling the gentleman, the box came serendipitously the day I got back from the hospital with my new knees and a bottle of pain pills and just some pain to go with it. And I thought I saw it from my brother, and I thought, this is great. Of course, I couldn't do a booktube video of it because I was pretty much consigned to the top floor until PT said you may descend stairs. So there you go. I did Instagram posts instead with the biblio clues on each one. So there were 10 packages with 11 books, and 2 of them, a number of them, I'm going to just turn off for a second so I don't forget. A number of them I read right away. So he was so good as to send me books that were not too taxing. And here's a little stack of the ones that I finished. They were so much fun. And I didn't have any. My brother is also acquainted with my library thing account, so he knows what I have and don't have. So yeah, Ogden Nash, Bedriddens, how appropriate. All really easy reading stuff. The Ballads of a Chichaco by Robert Service. Cremation of Stan McGee guy, but these are all different guys. And then 2 by Conrad Richter, who I hadn't actually ever heard of. So that was really great. Historical fiction, very much before my time, but well worth reading. Very different. So that was nice. Not too hard to get into, just a little hard to get over because they were about the children that were captured by Indians as very young children, brought up with love by various Indian tribes, and then later, when there were repatriation efforts, they were taken away from their Indian families and returned to their birth families, and they pretty much ended badly. Oh, but it was well worth reading. And then this was the amuse-bouche. The Pooperplex was hilarious. Written by a scholar, taking the Mickey out of all these scholarly absurdities and ridiculousnesses. I really enjoyed that. And then my favorite so far has been Husband Knight's Gambit by William Faulkner, which was a true delight. These are 6 stories. So again, after whatever set in, I need to go to sleep, it's fine. The next one, they stand on their own, but they're all the same protagonist, and I really enjoyed that. I like Faulkner anyway, but that was really fun.
It's a nice jacket on that.
Sorry?
Is that a first?
Yeah, my brother is clever that way. He not only knows what I like, he also indulged me. What a great guy. Everybody should have a brother like that. I also have 2 that are
my sister, I hope she's not watching.
Oh, really? Well, there are two. I was, in fact, I think I'm preparing hopefully a video later on today where I'm going to do my response to Mark's. How many books do you read at one time?
Good.
But and so I won't talk about the two that are on that because I'm looking at my little sets of stacks here of what I'm currently reading and what I'm kind of currently not quite reading so much. Here you go. Thank you, Alexis. Yes, it's great. Here I am sandwiched by dudes.
A rose between two thorns, right? So.
How bad is that? All right.
I have to laugh though because you bring up the Native American stories, and it's just weird, isn't it, Sean? How it's like cropped up in our last 3 lives.
Yeah.
Things
well, and also too, like that's what I was going to ask. That in any of those books, was there a large section about Cynthia Parker at all, or?
No, these were almost like children's tales. Not like children's tales, but they were told in very simple language, and they were told from the perspective of these 14 and 15-year-old children. Well, they were adults by that time because they were already hunting, or they were married, or they were already having children by their Indian spouses, by their Indian husbands, they were absolutely perplexed, upset, sad, wanted to kill the soldiers that got them, wanted to kill their real families or their birth families. Their real families were the Indians, but it was described pretty graphically how very different the cultures were between the white settlers, the white parents of birth parents of these children, and their adopted Native American Indian parents, and the huge cultural divide, which at first I had a little trouble getting into that. And then I thought, no, even after 7 years living as a child in Beirut with, my father being a scholar there and moving back to the States, there's a huge cultural adaptation. And we moved there, and I think they moved there right after I was born. And so we moved back in 65, between 58 and 65 in America. Holy cow. There was a lot of repatriation that had to go on. So I did kind of make that connection too.
I mean, did the Native Americans, was it like planned to like take these children, or was it just because?
No, they were the result of raids. The parent, one of the children had been stolen from the father's field. I think some whatever it was. This was the father had left the infant just sort of sitting there, and somebody came by. There was a retribution maybe, but in general it was expressed that the Indians doing the raiding, they might very well kill the parents, but if there were very young children, they would just take them and bring them up as their own. Oh, Alexis, I don't think there were any Hopi or Navajo. That was definitely more south. These ones were northern tribes, because the birth parents were pretty much like Massachusetts, the Boston, New England families. So
this is quite some time ago. Then this would be in like the 17th century.
18th. Yeah, not quite as far back as that. This was because in the 17th century, the intruders were still trying to kind of like make nice, and that ended. But I think the last of the repatriations was something like early 19th century, probably late 18th century, pretty much. I was just because I was blanking on the names of the tribes. There were a number, but I think they were all northern. They were all northern tribes.
Yeah, it is interesting. Like Mark said, that in the last couple ones we were talking about some native issues, not issues, but books, and this came up with the Comanche and stuff like that. And somebody, I found out that there's a book that's Iroquois on the Nile in the 1800s, doing, going down to, I guess it was basically it's to help out, I guess, what's his name? Cartoon. Yeah. But yeah, it's just weird how things like that happen. And it's like another one, like Mark, you texted me this morning asking about John Evelyn's diary. And it's like, I cleared out a shelf of old not penguins, Everyman Library, and I was looking at those like literally within half an hour before he texted me. And I did another Desert Island Books today, and I'm not saying who it is because I don't want to spoil anything, but it was like Black Beauty came up, and that was one of the books that came out of there as well. It's really weird, you know.
The Everyman Bradbury didn't come up, did it?
No, these are old Everymans.
Okay.
I know where the Bradbury one is, and I
ordered it. I ordered it anyway. I'm taking a chance. So
yeah, I can't get to it at the moment.
I have to ask Felicity. You said you were laid up on the upper floor, and
Yes.
were you furnished with a nice bell to ring your husband every time you needed something? Or
no, I'm actually blessed with family that do not annoy me. You know what it's called? It's called the cell phone. Tags. No, the first couple of days were dreadful. That was like, okay, how do I walk? How do I get from my bed to the bathroom? But I was absolutely not going to do the whole commode thing. So the first couple of days, I was following the doctor's instructions and made somebody be there. And after that, I went like, okay, it's 103 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm drinking water like crazy. And you know what happens when you drink water like crazy? Well, okay, finally I figured out, okay, I do not need to have an accompanist. So that was the first big step. And then I just slept. It's painful. I just slept, moved around, did whatever I was supposed to do, read books, looked at the one group of shelves, on the other side of the stationary bike. Okay, there's some books there. I got a few things I haven't read yet. No, I won't go wanting. Knowing that if they did, I could always get somebody to bring something from below.
And are you taking part in Victober next month? Will you be?
I haven't done that yet. I certainly do. I enjoy all the literature that's part of that. But one of my big sort of restraints here is that, generally speaking, I do not have a lot of extra time. I've found myself like, okay, I'll make a video a week. I really want to do more, but I don't know, I'm working, or I'm comatose, or I'm trying to read, or I'm practicing, or I have a rehearsal, or I'm making something for whatever, and so I even spend more time than I feel a little guilty watching all the wonderful BookTube videos because that's time when I'm not reading. So probably not. I'm saving myself for eco fiction in the new year. Jason,
echo chamber. We call it echo chamber as well. Echo
chamber. Echo chamber. Yeah, right. So I'm looking forward to that, and I will probably carve out some time to hopefully participate in that, because that's definitely a project close to my heart, and it's a sacrifice whatever I do, because whenever I'm doing this or whatever, I'm not reading, and I still have those 10,860 books to tempt me.
And how how much longer will you be or you're on the mend with the knees, but how long does it take? Because obviously it's like, that's I think it's major surgery, to have.
They saw your legs in half and then put them back together again, and so the official prognosis is 4 to 6 weeks to get back to whatever you were doing before, and last week was the beginning of the fourth. Ooh, that was exciting. And I did actually, I've been back to the shop, and I've done one formal couple hours work, and definitely working from home now, that I can get up and down the stairs. I'm planning outside expeditions. Was that Elvis? I'm planning outside expeditions. I can go walking now for short periods. I can't drive yet, so I'm kind of beholden to people who are willing to drive me around. They have something, okay, well, I'm off the pain meds, but they have this thing where okay, you can't drive until you can stomp your foot on the brake pedal really quickly. Whatever.
It's amazing that 4 to 6 weeks just doesn't seem long enough, but
it seems very fast, doesn't it?
Yeah.
They were threatening.
Not for you, it doesn't, but
they were threatening that. I thought, okay, well, that's interesting. I'm not seeing that. I think that's not going to happen, and no, it didn't, because they didn't get done with the surgery until 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the evening. The next day, they said, we'll try. Let's do the PT. Let's see, because I like to kick you out as quick as possible, get you out of the germ factory and home, which their coffee is terrible. So I'll totally approve of that. And yeah, the first day up, I nearly passed out. So they said, sorry, you're not, hi, Francisco.
Hey, Francisco.
Yeah, when I was in the hospital for cellulite, like I was in for about 6 weeks, and they had to find a space for me, and they put me on the sort of fracture ward. And there were people that were coming in with shattered, thigh like this, and they'd be in the afternoon. They'd go for surgery at like 5 or 6 or 7 o'clock at night, and they're out. They ejected them like the next morning, and like, oh my God.
Well, actually, I personally think that's a really good idea, because unless you have a really toxic home situation, home is the best place to recover, because all your stuff is there. I mean, yeah, you're not going to get released if you've had a stroke or a heart attack or some really life-threatening thing. But I mean, dude, it's just bones.
Yeah,
it's like they're always surprised here when I say that, English women, when they give birth, you can be home the next day. Yeah. Whereas here they have to stay in hospital, I think, 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, we try to kick them out. Oh, thank you, Alexis. You're so sweet. I know I was going to do more, but I'm very self-conscious about my playing because I was professional before. And so when I hear myself playing now, I go like, whatever. But thank you. Yeah, I don't know. With babies, I think I was in the hospital for a couple of days. That was it. That's all was necessary. And I had all the help, kind of like ready for me at home. So I'm much happier there. And besides, the coffee at the hospital is really, really bad. And they don't let you drink scotch.
Well, not officially, but if you get...
Oh, hi, would you bring the apple juice? Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. I'd like a little apple juice.
Nice medicinal purposes, surely.
Yeah. Pretty much. No, I was a good girl. And besides which, hey, that I might have done that when I was 40 or 50, but just turned 64, and I was pretty much not interested in anything. They were giving me whatever. I'm allergic to morphine, so they're just giving me all these pills, and I'm going like, okay, whatever. So I'm fine. Yeah, I'm off all of them.
And what are you reading at the moment?
Oh dear. So would you like to have the 8 books that I'm currently reading and the 10 books that I'm currently kind of reading? Or okay, this is what I was reading when you interrupted me to start the video, and that is the 3rd volume of Montaigne's essays, which I've been reading at an incredibly slow and leisurely pace. This is one of 2 books. The other is a member of the wonderful set that Mark Richardson gifted me with, which is American and British Poets, published in 1932. So much fun. And those 2 books live on top of the other books at the stationary bicycle. So for my health, I do that. It's really boring, but it's not boring when you're listening to music and reading. So Montaigne has kept me entertained on the stationary bicycle now.
How many volumes is the Montaigne?
It's 4. 3 are the actual essays, and the 4th, what they've done is for the benefit of the classically illiterate, is they've taken all of the Latin and Greek excerpts out, translated all of them, and then put references to them in the 4th volume, which is quite fat. It's a very pretty edition. It's not a super fancy like first edition of anything, which who could afford anything like that? But this is the 1946 New York Limited Editions Club. And it's really pretty paper, and it's got little ornaments, and it's nice. It's nice to physically read. It's not just like, okay, here's the words. I had a paperback of that. So it's pretty.
So you said they live near the exercise bike.
They do. So my husband a couple years ago had built 4 massive shelves onto the wall for the overflow. There was a lot of overflow, and a lot of books moved up, and they've moved around, and there's such, so I think Pynchon and Lim are there, because if you're there, you have to live together with your friends. But I do have a lot of books that I haven't read, which are up there, which makes it handy.
And does it mean you just sit in the library, read them, and put them back there each night, or do they go up onto your bedside table at night?
No, these are strictly for bicycle reading.
Okay, so there's something else on your bedside table.
That's correct. On the bedside table is currently Dunsany's The Ghosts of the Heaviside Layer. Yum.
That's what you need.
Right?
That's what you need on your bedside table.
Right, and Borges Fictions. Yeah, and you can see I'm kind of like not dilly-dallying on that one too much. I'm really loving this one again. And the one which I was reading pretty diligently, and now I just kind of like it got superseded by Borges, is The Travels in Alaska of John Muir. So those three, you see, that's how I manage 8 books at a time, is they each has their own little place in the house. And so my brain gets segmented. Oh, I'm now on the bicycle. It's Montaigne poetry. Oh, I'm in the bed. I read these 3 things. And I'm downstairs in the library. I'm going to read Plutarch, or On the Eaves of the World, or Bill Moyer and Joseph Campbell's Power of Myth. You know, you see.
Don't worry, I won't ask you what's in the toilet then.
Nothing.
Okay.
That is one room in the house where there are no books, because every other room is full. gotta draw the line somewhere.
Hi, Nicole. Sorry, I didn't see that.
Good job, Mark. Hi, Nicole.
Yeah, that's the one place you don't want to spend. I always, like, I could never understand why people would read in there, because there's not enough time. You want to go in and out.
Yeah, but I do know some people read in.
Oh, sorry.
Some people read in there because that is the only place they have peace and quiet. If they have a busy family, and they run off with their book, and it's like, oh, I'm going to sit in here for 15 minutes and get something done, you know. So.
Turn on the fan so they can't hear anybody screaming, the baby crying, whatever. What I don't know about in the UK and the Czech Republic, but in America, a lot of people joke and they say, well, I'm going to be in the library for a while. And they mean, I'm going to be in the toilet. No?
Oh, I don't know.
Is that an American thing?
The throne room, or place of contemplation.
Right.
Constipation, contemplation, whatever.
It's a couple of consonants different.
A little bit.
Well, I don't know. So I do have a stack of 10 that are what I call, they're kind of like delayed reads. Like I get into them and then I haven't quite forgotten what's going on. I might have to backtrack a little. But the problem is that when I'm reading in my library, I am surrounded by all of these temptations. I just look and go like, have a thought, I'm reading something in one of the books and I think, oh, wasn't that in one of Echo's essays? Or, hey, that reminds me of one of those old Dawes science fiction books. And then I have to go off and then I pick it up and then that's what I'm reading instead. It's great. I love it.
Mentioning Dawes, do you have a large collection of Dawes?
Yes, I do. They are spread about because fiction, that it's on my, what I call the Wallow books, and it's all mass market sized paperbacks, whatever is in them. And so they're all filed, they're alphabetical by author, of course, and by series if there's a series, or by alpha if they're just individual titles. And I used to get Dawes at Cody's, not Cody's, but at Moe's and Shakespeare Books, when Shakespeare Books still existed in Berkeley, in the old days. And yeah, I love them. I won't get rid of them.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, that's too difficult though. But if they were all together, I'd say plunk a chair down, take your camera, and let's do a shelf tour at some point.
Well, no, I actually did. I've done a couple of very sketchy shelf tours, and somebody actually commented, God, this is great. Could you spend more than half a second on each shelf? Okay, fine. The Wallow books. I'll do my best. But I'm actually, where I'm sitting here, you see the classical, the really clever stuff behind me, the poetry and the Loeb and my glass fronted cabinet with the treats in it. But what I'm looking at on the other side of my camera is all my mass market paperbacks. So I'm looking at, look at all those lovely Dawes. Sorry, you guys can't see them. They're good.
You mentioned you have children, Felicity. Are they readers as well?
I have one. We have one. He's in his 30s, and I am really, really lucky that he is actually living with us right now. He was on his own for quite a while, living with friends. He's probably not always that happy to be here, but it's kind of another California symptom of greedy landlordism, is that the group there was paying rent happily, doing everything just by the book, and landlord came one day and said, oh well, my children are going to move in, so you all have to move out. Boom, we got a month.
But lovely. I mean, is he a big reader? Because I have to say, I think if my mum had a library like that, I probably would never have left home.
David is a
sorry, Mum, if you're watching.
Yes. Sorry, Mom. So he's a slow but thorough reader, and he has very, very different taste from mine, which is great. He periodically lends me things. In fact, it's on my. I'm reading it slowly because it's a little out of my comfort zone, but it's something I had asked for, and that is Black Jacobins by apparently a very excellent author who did some kind of like major thing on cricket or something crazy like that. But this is the story of Toussaint Louverture, which is super important, and it lives in the library. So when I'm down in the library, I'll pick it up and I'll have a go at it. It's fascinating. It's just I'm kind of a wuss, and stories and histories that end badly, even gloriously badly, I find really, really hard to read.
It's funny, I was just listening to a podcast about C.L.R. James the other day, so it's kind of funny, yeah, it pops up. It's funny things always pop up, when you don't hear about them for years, and then suddenly...
this is actually a bad precedent here. Oh, hi, Spectre. Ooh, at the library. Good job. So the trouble with actually saying, oh yeah, I'm reading that too, this is really good, is it kind of like makes you think, oh, maybe the world of possible books is not as infinite as I thought it was. And in fact, that's not true. The world of books to read is in fact infinite, just like Paul has said. So yeah, but I mean, I don't know if you find this, but books seem to kind of go in these weird waves of serendipity or propinquity or popularity for the oddest reasons.
Definitely.
Yeah, there's and then it's like somebody does something that hasn't been done for a while, like especially on BookTube, then all of a sudden 3 or 4 months later, everybody's doing it, to a certain extent.
But then some books seem to be like staples on BookTube. I mean, you can't go, a month almost without seeing somebody doing, Wuthering Heights or Jane Austen or
Alexis, I couldn't agree with you more. I cannot read horror, or I might have maybe when I was younger, but man, I go like, okay, it's fine, I'm done. Bedtime is 12 hours from now. I can't do it. You're absolutely right.
I can't either. I have to say, I'm too freaked out with it. But it's interesting because I'm reading Frankenstein at the moment, and I haven't read it before, and I'm reading 18, and I'm really enjoying it. But I was looking on Goodreads, and it was funny the number of people complaining that it wasn't a horror story. Saying, this wasn't a horror story at all. It was actually quite boring, And I was thinking, oh, well, I'm actually quite enjoying it.
The classical horror of unease, and this is another one of my slow reading, like not really current ones, is M.R. James. And, you read that, you say, well, okay, ghost story, horror story. No, it's that just frisson of unease and the edge, and you finish it and you say, okay, I got my head around that. I didn't freak out, but it kind of left that little taste, like the what was that? Oh, the one about the not the oak. It was golly, I've already mercifully forgotten. It was terrifying.
Oh, is that the one with the creatures or that were coming out of the tree?
Spiders with heads the size of a man's head. Yeah, that one. Okay, that one.
You're freaking me out already.
I wasn't expecting that. I was like, oh, can I like erase that picture from my head now?
Yeah, he's on the slate for me to. I reread all his stories every other October.
So, oh, okay. Well, I have not managed. I've mentioned I was probably in one of in Mark's how many books. You're welcome, Andrew. It was one of it was the 8 how many books at a time, and I describe myself as a scattershot flibbertigibbet reader, and I personally think that's a very accurate description because I'll be reading like, okay, I'm reading something serious, like when I'm reading Wittgenstein's The Blue and Brown Books, and I'm going like, wow, that's amazing. Whoops, I need a break. Off to something else again. So yeah, I can't. Okay, it's October. I should read like scary things or whatever, and I don't. I just like I read whatever I pick up. Flibbertigibbet. That's me.
With a bit of frisson on the side.
Yeah, I know. Nice use the word frisson. Oh, the best words usually come to me unbeknownst. When I'm trying to actually think of something and think of like the right way to say something, I go, yeah, well, actually, I use the word actually far too often. I'm working on that.
I was told I used the word perhaps too much. So.
No, perhaps is fine. Perhaps is fine. It adds a certain element of uncertainty, but actually, sorry, I did it again. It's not true. Nothing
perhaps not.
Anything. Perhaps it's not. How about you, Shawn? Do words come to you when you command them to come?
Not anymore. Not with this long COVID. I like simple words. I just can't get out at times, or even the pronunciation. I am reading something, especially like I'm doing the read loud things, and the simplest words, I'm having trouble pronouncing them at times.
And your head knows what to do, and the mouth does not cooperate.
Yeah, it's like I know the word. It's exactly what I read about somebody else who had the brain fog, and he said he could never say the word dog. He knew the word dog in his head, but he couldn't get it out. So he'd have to describe every time what he meant by the dog. And that's what I do half the time. I start describing something around it or that person. I just can't get the name out.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah, and it is, and I think that our definition of horror has been debased by an increasing number of pleas to our sense of disgust or our sense of horror, and with the times that we live in or the times we've come from, we've gradually gotten so inured to scary things that we require more and more terror to actually terrify us. So Frankenstein is plenty terrific. Yeah, is anything ever an unalloyed good? That's a really good point. French Revolution in the Caribbean. Well, there were a lot of, so the French Revolution was not unalloyed good in any case. Certainly, I mean, yeah, so overthrow the aristocrats and chop off their heads, but what about all those poor shop girls and all the other people, or the people with the tiny holdings that were conspired against? Oh, I'm going to take his stuff, and so I'll just say that he's a bad guy and chop off his head and that kind of stuff. No, good and bad. Nothing is unalloyed. Edmund Burke. No, there's a man. Good show. Yeah, well, Shawn, speaking about remembering words, I find myself now I have to accept some humbling and humiliation, because when I was younger, man, the words just flowed out of me like water, and I can't even plead brain fog or anything else, but I can plead older age.
I did notice, like, as I was entering my 50s, that things like that were happening, but once I had the COVID, it just went skyrocketing.
Wow.
But words that I like I came across from H.G. Wells, the Chronic Argonauts, and he used,
I love that.
Yeah, and he used, I love the word crepuscular. You know,
Oh,
that's just a
the
wonderful sounding word.
Crepuscular. It's so evocative. You know, I actually had not read that or heard of it until I saw that you were going to do that. And so I grabbed the link and there's Gutenberg pops right up. And that was a quick read. And it was really enjoyed that. That was great.
Yeah, like it was a bit fractious. It was, you know, like different styles with each one. But at times it was right on the spot for description, I thought. And I actually
it ended though the way it ended. I think it should, you know, it could have gone on. It would have been.
Yeah, well, that's what it's supposed to. He just didn't continue it. But yeah. I got I think it's the first sort of biography of Wells by the person's real name is Jeffrey Wells, but he used no relation. He used the pseudonym Jeffrey West. And there's quite a bit of stuff in here about the Chronic Argonaut. So I'm going to piece it together from other things and do another video, just some background bits, because it's quite interesting.
What's your time frame, Shawn, on I know you said you're going to take it easy, but like, are you going to try to knock out a short Wells story every week, or at least for an hour?
Yeah, like that is sort of doable, I think. And then
I want to keep pace with you as much as I can, and that's doable, I think.
Yeah. There's no and if you know I can't do it or we fall behind, it's not really falling behind. It's just do it as and when. And because I've got a few other things, I want to put these. Like I got this old bibliography, and it's an annotated one, so it's nice. I find it interesting to get these little tidbits of things like. You know, when we get to the Time Machine, the American edition gave his middle initial wrong, you know, or something like that. I forget. It's like I didn't know that until I read that.
So, you know, Alexis, actually, it's interesting. I do the same thing, especially if I'm going to say a word out loud. I have this terror of actually like saying a word and somebody looks at me and says, that doesn't mean what you think it means. I think I was gonna say something about like a lamentation or about like some like diatribe, and I wanted to use the word Jeremiad, and I said I better look that up to see if it means what I think it means first.
I've done that where I've put something in a comment, and then afterwards I've gone away and said, you know, did I use that right? So if you get an edited comment from me, it's usually because I went back after and decided I'd use.
Is that a line from Princess Bride? Is I do not think that word means what you think it means.
Yeah, that's right. Inconceivable.
Inconceivable. I do not think that word means what you think it means. I've watched very few movies, but that's definitely one of them.
It is a great film. I was actually, because I was looking, I've got on my Kindle, I've got the Marathon Man, and it's the same author, isn't it? I think. William Goldman.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Goldman.
No. Look it up. Oh, look! I have my little look it up right here.
I didn't. I would have looked it up later, but I just it was only just before this. Really, I was looking through, and I thought, oh, it looks like it's the same author as The Princess Bride.
So Princess Bride, William Goldman, and I don't know because it's the only work of his. I have the book too, and this is so I have Library Thing. I don't use Goodreads. I use Library Thing, and I have my entire library cataloged. That's how come I know exactly how many books I have. So yeah, William Goldman.
Goldman and Marathon Man. It's also William Goldman, and is it the same one?
You know, he actually had a whole line of sort of murder and not quite thriller, but kind of murder mysteries. Because my booksellers lent me one, and he has a couple of really different genres to his belt, to his name.
Well, apparently it says he first came to prominence in the 50s as a novelist before turning to screenwriting. He won the Academy Award for his screenplays Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, as well as All the President's Men. In 1973, he wrote and published The Princess Bride, and in 1974, he published Marathon Man. So
there you go, a man of many parts.
Yeah.
What's wrong with anticipations? Do you
that's his nonfiction, I think, if I remember right. So I'm just going through the fiction to make it easier. You know.
What was that crazy one? Oh, was it the science? You know, I do, but Andrew, I'll tell you, the biggest thing was when we moved into our house, I said, okay, every book is on the shelf, it's all in order, and I went through book by book, and I anything that I had not already cataloged, I cataloged, and then I double checked it, and I said, any book that comes in the house gets cataloged first before I get to read it or put it on the shelves, and so far I've been.
do you stamp your books at all, like with any identifiers, like this is Felicity's library, or?
So on library thing, what I do is I use of course the main library, which is like the whole thing, and then I have some subsets. Like if I've taken it out of my library or if I've gifted it or something, then I take it out of the library catalog and have a separate one for that.
I mean, on the books themselves, do you have like a stamp where this belongs to Felicity?
No, I'm thinking something. I'm gonna get really clever and I'm gonna get really sophisticated and have a book plate, but that's not happened yet, and it's going to be saved for special books, really special books. No, I don't, and I don't lend anymore. I either give or I say no, get out of my library, because I've lent before and not gotten it back, which is why I've owned 4 copies of Umberto Eco's Travels with a Salmon, because it never comes back to me, so I don't do that anymore. Library thing is just because I have so many books, is when I go to the bookstore, I really wanted to stop buying duplicates. It works for that. It works pretty well. Yeah, and I do. So I mean, I have subcategories in my library thing of. I have subcategories in my library thing of, for example, sheet music is in the main library, but it's also in sheet music, and then I tag it also. I know, okay, these are the quartets I have, or these are the whatever. Yeah, so cataloging. It's probably a librarian in another lifetime.
And I have no idea what that word means.
Ultraquism?
Yeah.
Should I look it up? Hey there, Chris.
I don't know what that means.
What does ultraquism mean?
Ultraquism. Thank you, internets.
According to moneyweb.de, it means the royal and the protector.
No, it doesn't.
Dang, ultraquism or Calixtanism was a belief amongst Hussites, a reformist Christian movement, that communion under both kinds should be administered to the laity during the celebration of the Eucharist.
Okay, where that
was the dog of the Hussites and one of the 4 articles of Prague. Thank you, Wikipedia.
Oh, okay. So that's okay. That does fall in then with eco then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
falls in with me as well.
Andrew, you're gonna laugh. You're gonna laugh. Maybe you're gonna cry. But those fancy schmancy shells you see behind me were included with the house when we bought it. And there is a funny story with that, because when we were buying the house, the person we bought it from, I think, was a little odd. And we were going through our broker, their broker, so forth. And just like very shortly before the deal was done, he said, well, there's all these bookshelf things in the bottom room there. I don't know. I mean, we don't have time to get them out. Could you use them? So my husband, who was having the conversation with the guy, said, oh, I don't know. I suppose we could figure out something to do with them. My wife will kill me if you take them away. So they cost us nothing extra. Yes, Francisco, I'm afraid I am a librarian in this lifetime, but not for a living. Just for passion.
So I guess that's what that ultraquism actually means. Is I think that's what Andrew's replying to, or
I think he's, oh my God, that the shelves were free.
I think he meant, oh my God, not on my God.
Yeah,
like,
okay, yeah.
Oh my God. Dang. Yeah, I know. That was definitely the icing on the cake for me. And Tony and I, we laughed about that for a long time. Like, oh, I don't know. I suppose we'll figure out something to do with them. Totally deadpan straight face. He's Irish. He didn't blink.
I remember going to a auction a long time ago in Canada, and they had, I guess they called them the banker ones. You know, like they fold up. And
shelf, yeah.
Yeah, and they had a whole bunch of them at this place, and apparently there were it was continuously going through, and it always was cheap. So I thought, yeah, I'm going to buy some of these. But there was one other person there that wanted them and had deeper pockets than I did. So I made sure that they paid for them because I was angry.
Good job. Like, yeah, I'll top your bid by 50 pounds.
Yeah.
So those are in the background, and they're really impressive. They don't work quite as well as my beautiful three shelf globe Wernicke that my grandmother gave me, along with some books to go with it, which is beautiful vintage. I mean, it's Cyril McCoy, and you can't see it because, well, sometimes when I do a video, I'll have to move to a different chair, and that's part of the treasures of my library. This is globe Wernicke, are just, they're beautiful shelves, but the ones that came with the house free were definitely cool.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Was the previous occupant quite into books as well then? Is that what?
No, she was totally an oddball, and I think what she did is apparently she was a hoarder and she had all this stuff. And I don't know what her dealio was for sure, but she must have had some advice because she put some very strange, like IKEA kind of stuff in. Like, oh, the person who's going to purchase this will need to have some kind of like thing in the house. So these were never used; they were brand new. I tried to actually see could we get some more because I could probably have used some more, but there was some kind of generic thing, and I'm I don't know. Really weird stuff.
It is funny when people see books or bookcases, like, but what are you going to do with those? You know?
I'll think of something.
Yeah, they'll be used for something, but you get most people and they'll go, oh, okay, I bought some extra toilet paper here. Let's put them up here. And it's like, that's not what they're meant for.
I think some odd little kind of like thing in there just to kind of like prime the shelves, like a box of screws or some weird little ornament, the box of a corn, of a baking powder, of soda, or whatever it is. But yeah, when I saw that, hi there, Alan. Yeah, I know Sean's shelves are loaded. Just give me about 10 years and take a look at them.
Well, and the thing is, they're cheaper than these. These are IKEA. What do they call them? I can't remember them now. Anyway,
nothing wrong with IKEA. Absolutely nothing wrong with IKEA. My husband doesn't like it because he's a contractor, but I've got some IKEA furniture. It's totally robust. Until you move them, and then they'll start falling apart. That's the problem. Oh, really? I got a couple pieces that seemed, well, they weren't bookshelves. They were actually standalone, like regular, like shelf, drawer kind of furniture kinds of things. But yeah, I mean, all of the shelves that were built in here, my husband did that, and a lot of them were brought from where we were before, and he just added to them because. Yeah, sorry, Library of Babel.
Well, it's like what Mark's doing, having his house built. Like, I'd be telling the architect, you see where you got those interior walls? Don't put walls. Have the studs and make bookcases on both sides.
Either that or build one plywood board to the top and then put, do a stacks. You do shelves on either side, just like me. Stacks, man.
I haven't got much in the way of interior walls, though. Really, I mean, the main living part of the house is just one big open space, and then it's just through to a hallway and 2 bedrooms. That's it. It's a small place.
So there's a lot of room for some, for creativity.
Well, there's one nice thing is that I am having a like a loft, but it will be habitable. So it would be kind of nice as like an out of the way place to have. I guess what I imagine Steve's little book room that he's got upstairs that he talked about. So something like that, maybe.
Harry's pots. Harry Potter.
That must be. I don't know. I know my brain.
You're gonna start cooking Harry Potter, huh?
Yeah, but I know my brain is going a little bit from the COVID, but hopefully not that much.
I see Harry's pots too. I have noticed with some degree of pleasure, Sean, that you are working on the reorganization, because the giant unmanageable stacks, the ones that are going to fall on you and hit you and hurt you, have started dissipating.
I don't get that.
What's behind you?
books? You mean on what I'm looking at, or what's what's behind back?
Isn't there a stack behind you that's quite high? Did I not see? Oh, okay.
Okay, it's
I didn't see the cabinet. I thought it was a stack of books up, but it's on top of something.
That's actually, sorry. So that's the Globe Wernicke, and
okay.
and only when I'm sitting in the recliner chair that's kind of like right there. Yeah, you can't see something. When I'm sitting in the recliner, I mean, I suppose if we had an earthquake big enough, it would fall down. But they're all paperbacks.
Well, no, I didn't see they were. I didn't see that they were on top of it. I thought the stack went from all the way up, but it didn't.
I actually do eschew stacks like that. I do require still yet that my stacks not get farther than the neck height if they're coming up from the floor.
Like there's no earthquakes here, and the thing is, everybody was saying that about the shelf. The only way they would fall is if I pushed them or bumped into them, because there are ways to stack books that you interlock them that you can actually bump into them, hit them, and they won't fall down. They may wobble, but they won't fall down.
So maybe you could actually build a house out of books, Sean.
You're right.
I don't do book. What's that? Which
was that one of the 1 minute shorts? Like, how do you read? You pick up a book, you read it.
Yeah, that might be. Yeah, no, I think I probably said something. Yeah, I did a joke one of like the favorite book or something like that was something like 50 Shades of Grey or something like that because it was so well written. I did a joke tag, but serious, like serious faced, I think.
You say it's a joke, but
I can't do that. Oh my God. It's that deadpan. You're amazingly well, Sean. Yeah.
I think that's where it's from. Yeah, because I forgot I did that, but I've done a few things like that, and people. I did one other tag. I think one of my first tags, I did something like that. And I just I pulled stories from fictional stories from books. And I used the Something Wicked This Way Comes, the carnival and stuff. And nobody caught that. Everybody was going, oh, that's very interesting. And only one person caught it, actually. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, Hercules Parrot. Yeah.
Oh, dear. Yeah, Hercules Parrot, huh? Good job.
It's like the mispronunciation tag where what did I say, Edinburgh or something like that, and I was trying to mispronounce it in another video as a joke, and I couldn't mispronounce it correctly, and somebody was saying, oh well, you weren't pronouncing it correctly, and it was like, yeah, that was the point.
It's like when I had that discussion with you before one of the lives, and we were talking about the Greeks.
Yeah.
And I was like this, and this, and it really annoys me when people get it wrong. And then we went live, and I'm like, oh, and I've got a book from Aristophanes.
Yeah. You know what? I refuse to react to that in comments because when you're live and when you're saying things, I mean the darndest things pop out of your mouth. I mean, and I'll play back later and I'll go like, I can't believe I actually said that.
Well, it's like one video, like this was like I assume it's probably was part of the COVID. I was talking about Isaac Asimov, but I kept saying Clifford Simak. And all the way through, and I didn't watch it again, and then so everybody's pointing this out, and it's like, well, I know the difference. Thank you. I do know the difference.
But I think in everybody's defense, I think it happens even to professionals, because I remember once listening, I have a, whatever classical music station I was listening to, which were staffed by not professional players, but certainly people with a great deal of musical knowledge. And the lady announced a Symphony No. 6 by Tchaikovsky. I said, who? Sorry, that's not how we say it in America.
Well, I noticed watching the part of the Queen's funeral the other day. They had one of the herald people in Windsor Castle, and he was, reading something or other. And I thought, the poor guy, all the cameras on him, and he's like, Queen Elizabeth II, Queen of Great Britain and Ireland. You know, he couldn't say northern, and it was like, oh my god, the poor guy. Of course, he moved on like it didn't happen, but I picked it out.
Good. So, the Greek thing is really challenging because, first of all, they're all dead and they've been dead. Hermeneutics. Yeah, there's another good word. Thank you. Chris, you are trying.
I think Chris is sitting there with his dictionary.
Tchaikovsky, that's right, Tchaikovsky, dude. So the problem with the Greeks, and this is something my father kind of mentioned, and his pronunciation was he tried to do the right thing. He was a classical scholar, but everybody has a different opinion. They've all been dead for centuries. And how do you pronounce it? Is it Alcibiades, Alcibiades? I mean, or some other weird variation on that?
That's it. We don't know, do we?
No, we don't. And so it behooves us to be kind and sympathetic when somebody says Aristophanes.
Well, I mean, I think part of it is, I look at word. I was saying to Sean, I sometimes look at words, and I'm so used to thinking how they're said in Czech that it's like, you don't in Czech you wouldn't say Socrates, you say Socrates.
And
it's all phonetic, and I did ask them, and they said they would say Aristophanes. Yeah, so
right. Well, the thing is that if you were a Greek scholar, which I pretended to be once, but I'm not, and there are rules for where the emphasis falls on words, depending on what the ending is and where the vowels are and so forth and so on. So yeah, for all we know, Aristophanes is absolutely correct. To say with a little bit of an accent, and then everybody will say it.
It sounds good, doesn't it? Yeah. It's like they always say the C should be a hard K almost, in Latin anyway. But I wonder, like with Thucydides, if he is Thucydides or Thucydides. So
yeah, but Thucydides was Greek. So yeah, I don't know. And rules are meant to be broken, and the Romans were around for a long time. And yeah, in Latin, it's pronounced the yes, Alcibiades. Thank you. So in Latin, that's very, very much true. So a consonant is going to be like this or that. But the good Lord, the Romans had borrowed Greek words too, because they called them decadent and they mocked them and despised them. And yet they stole all their stuff. So there.
Well, it is weird, the pronunciation, because like here in England, like in London, there's a place, you see it, and you see the name, it's Southwark.
Yeah.
And
Leicester.
Sorry?
Leicester.
Yeah, I actually pronounced it Leicester every time I read it. Leicester, because with a hard C for Leicester. But then I watched British television and I'd hear about Leicester Square and all this stuff, and I didn't connect the two.
Where the heck is that?
Yeah, why would I connect the two? But the Southwark, anybody who, there's no way somebody coming to that word would ever know that you should be calling it Southwark. And I probably haven't even pronounced it correctly there.
Well, and the additional problem there is what happens when you only meet words by reading them in a book, and you've never heard it actually pronounced. Like, for example, reading, pardon me, Pepe's Diary. And it took me a long time to connect, like, who's this Pepys dude who wrote a diary? Oh, is that how you're supposed to pronounce it? Sorry. Pepe's, because
like, we have the county of Berkshire, but it's spelt Berkshire.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but well, there's another meaning for Berks.
Yeah, but that Burke isn't spelt like the Burke in Berkshire, is it?
Well, Burke's Peerage is.
Burke's Peerage is.
Oh, now you're on a roll. Yeah, Pepe's Diary.
Pepe Le Pew wrote a diary.
It was worse when I was younger, because really I was not surrounded, except for my folks. I was not surrounded by anybody that read like I was reading. And so I read all this amazing stuff. And being younger, these were all new words to me, but I figured out what they were supposed to be. You look it up in the dictionary and it sure isn't going to tell you how to pronounce it. So I'd come out with it. And if I actually managed to come out with it at home, my father, not my mother, who was much more sympathetic, my father would say, "Now, Felicity, this is how we normally pronounce that word." Sorry, Dad. Oops. Yeah, chopping.
Yeah, I never heard that until recently, like literally within the last couple of years, that
Chopin?
Chopin was a lot of people would pronounce it chopping, and I never heard that until just literally a couple of years ago.
There used to be a really funny little notepad you could get that had, had things on the top of it, and it said, it was said gross. It's like it had like a little line with pictures of vegetables and stuff on top, and it said Chopin list because it was a chopping list.
Was list spelled L-I-S-Z-T?
Oh, they were spelled correctly, but you pronounced it chopping list.
Oh, but Chopin and Liszt, I thought. Yeah,
Chopin and Liszt.
Yeah,
but, it's like Bill and I don't know if you saw it in the 80s. This film, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and they travel back in time and they meet Beethoven.
Oh yeah, good old Beethoven. Good old Beethoven. We still get that now. Beethoven.
But yeah, like Irish is the best. Like, yeah, how do you get Siobhan for Sealban? How do you get that?
You lived there for 3 years, Sean. That's how.
But
I know, and the other one is Aoife, or is that the one or something like that? It's like
Aoife, yeah.
Almighty.
Well, it's like my friend, his brother was called Owen, which of course in the Welsh is where we write in English is O-W-E-N, but in Irish it's like E-O-G-H-A-N or something. Yeah. So.
Rester vivant. Oh dear. Okay. And Welsh is worse, omnipotent poobah. Welsh is impossible, and they take pride in it.
Yeah, they just need to get a few more vowels. English vowels.
Yeah. Well, they sold all the vowels to buy beer, and so they haven't got any left. Sorry.
No, it's just the pronunciation. Yeah, it's weird though. Like I don't know. Like I try to think back of all the Greek names and stuff. I don't remember how, or like Roman names, like all that stuff. I don't know how I think for the most part I pronounce them the conventional way, the correct way. But I don't know where I learned those, and I don't know if somebody told me or what. I don't know how I learned them, because I never spoke to people who read that kind of stuff, and so they would have been able to correct me. So I don't know where I learned it.
Well, you probably don't say Caesar the right way, do you?
Kaiser.
So any mispronunciations of Greek or Latins were totally beat out of me as a youth. I mean, not physically beaten, but that got. You know what I mean? My father was a classical scholar. Yeah, Kaiser. Yes.
But yeah, the thing is, it is Caesar in the anglicized way to do it. So
I think you just learn from other people, though. I mean.
Yeah, I must have, but I don't know where, because I don't know how they, like, I never was around people that said that stuff.
Yeah, Sean, how do you pronounce that word?
Well, there's no BH in it, so it's Bath.
Bath.
So because there's no H in it, there's no H after the B, so it's Bath. It's the same as glass. It's not gloss.
Is it Bath or Bath?
Bath for me.
Bath. Okay, very good.
Julius Caesar.
Nice. Ooh, Jeffrey's
yeah.
Dang, yeah. Here's a dude who deserved to die. So you didn't hear me say that? The other thing about Latin, which is kind of curious, is that Latin lasted long after the demise of the Romans, and Latin got appropriated by the early Christians, the later Christians, and the up to the 18th century. Latin was in fact the language you wrote everything in, so it got mutated quite a bit.
Yeah, well, that's why, like, I remember somebody was saying that they're going to learn, classical Latin. But they wanted to read medieval Latin, poetry or something. I said, you're not going to be able to.
You can do both. Yeah, you can do both, and you might start with classical Latin because there's the grammar, all the good stuff. But when you get to medieval times, it's turned into like an actual language. Kind of a lot of the grammar kind of like oozes away.
I can't put that. I can't change comments.
Can't change comments?
No, I can't. I'm
I
clicking.
was stuck with Alan's comment forever.
Oh wait.
I see the Irish name their men girls' names and vice versa.
Yeah, I can't change the comments now. I can't get rid of anything or change it.
Oh, is it because you're the host? The host is. Oh, bye-bye, Shawn. Ah, oh no!
I wonder if we're still live or. Oh yeah, there we are.
Okay.
It is the book of the Catholics. Oh no! Who put that? Did you put that in there?
Yeah, I put that in there.
Would you care to pronounce that for us?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't care to pronounce it.
Chicken.
Fanfare, and that's about all I can do.
Yeah, nice. The Catholics. Good job. Yeah, but it's kind of, I actually like it that Latin lasted, that it was good enough that it lasted long enough to be mutated. I only wish that Greek had a few more intermediate stages before Demotica, because that's not really that much fun, except for the cool font. It's not like classical Greek, which is a beautiful language.
I think I was pondering the Welsh.
The Welsh, probably. I'm going to live, as I told Shawn in my Desert Island episode with him, I'm going to live for another 250 years. And in that time, I will have time to learn Greek properly and Latin properly, right?
Yeah,
maybe
well,
I bionically replaced, that might actually happen.
Well, when I went to university, because I had to take biblical Hebrew. But then I thought, okay, well, I'd like to learn Latin and Greek, and so I took biblical Hebrew, Latin, Greek, and German. That didn't last very long.
That's a pretty big challenge to go together. Although I found Latin and French to be worse, because French is very much a Romance language. And when I was doing that in middle school, I kept getting confused because the Latin was like, there it was. And I would be doing the French and I'd be pronouncing it with Latin bits in it. And our French teacher said, no, that is not how you pronounce it. Oh, thanks.
That's not a name. That's a sentence. That's a sentence or a paragraph. It's like, it's directions. No, that's what it is. It's not a town name. It's directions to the town.
But it's not even directions to the town, is it? It's like directions to the church, I guess, that the town is.
Near the Red Cave. Oh, good job. Exactly, Andrew. You're on the money there. That's
the
true.
problem is, I would
have read my dad's book and I would be able to respond to that intelligently.
but try to learn it though when you don't know anything of those languages. It's not that easy, or it wasn't for me.
Yeah, and my dad didn't start off learning Hebrew. He started off learning Latin and Greek, and then that's what spurred his interest in the whole classical field. And so then you add Hebrew to that, and you sort of add the Aramaic and the Sanskrit. So you add all those bits afterwards. My granddad had to stand on the other platform to take the picture, dude. That's real. Nice. Oh golly. I'd like to see that. That'd be cool.
It's like there's a really good video if anybody wants to type in YouTube. I think it's an Irish sheep farmer, and he's being interviewed by news. It's like, go what?
One of the years that I was in Ireland, I spent that was in my misspent youth. I was helping to tend a pub in West Cork in the Dingle Peninsula, and one of our patrons was a dude. Like, he'd come in, said, "Oh, it's all sure was grand, yes, some stone mason," and I said, "Oh, you're a." oh, you're a stonemason, a stonemason. And he started going on about, he said, sure, no, I give her a bit of a tap with my hammer, and she behaves right away. And I'm thinking, your wife? Oh, the stone. Dear me. And then he goes on, this is Irish kind of like mentality. And he starts going on about this battle. And I'm thinking, whoa, was this like, during the Troubles? Was this like during the, the separation of South and Northern Ireland? And then it turns out he's talking about some battle that happened 700 years ago. And he's talking about it like it was yesterday. She's Irish and grand and different folk altogether.
Well, there's like here where I am, like there's apparently a sort of a dialect sort of for this area, like an older dialect. And when I used to go to one of the pubs here, there was two guys that would sit down at their different tables, and all they did, like I swore, they must have just surreptitiously put marbles in their mouth and they tried to talk, but they're like it was and the one, and then they'd be going back and forth, and I'd be there going, and other people would be looking at them, and I don't know if they were making fun or what.
Who knows? Taking the piss out of you. Odysseus. Excuse me, Heracles, dude. Heracles and Odysseus. Thank you, Spectre, for clarifying. Although my dad used to say, help yourself because Hercules won't help you, but he knew damn well. I'm sorry, pardon me, YouTube. Yeah, he knew perfectly well that it was Heracles.
Well, it's the other thing is, like, when I was in I can't remember the goddesses now, but it's like it's a Babylonian, well, actually originally a Sumerian goddess, and then the Babylonians called it, there's several, but then the Greeks called it something else, and then it got into the Roman. So there's like 5 stages there somewhere along the way.
They do turn around, and then I think that one turned into Artemis in Greek, and then of course in Latin, poor gal is Diana, like whatever, poor thing.
But yeah, it's amazing how they change, and then occasionally you get some Egyptian ones in that just stick in and stick their ore in.
The Greeks I think treated the Egyptians much like the Romans eventually treated the Greeks. Like, well, they're a decadent race, but look at all this cool stuff they've got. So they borrowed gods like we borrow words from other languages. Later.
Well, it's the whole thing too. When Christianity came into England, it was like, somebody had a brain and go, okay, do we force everything on here, or do we just all of a sudden say, well, you think the same thing as we do, we'll just adopt that stuff into ours and expand it and get everybody.
Yeah, pretty much. Classic technique, really. When I was very, very young and still playing with my brother's blocks, I would build castles, and I would build Olympus, and I peopled it with the gods and goddesses, because I firmly believe, I'm sure I was probably only like 9 or 10, I firmly believed that they were real. And I said things to propitiate them. It took me quite a while to realize that in fact, nobody believed that but me. We won't say what I believe now.
Yeah, Herodotus, I've got to reread. I've got the that just came up again in the Desert Island books that I did today, and I've got the Oxford Word Classics, but the only translation I've read is the Aubrey de Selincourt, and it sort of came up with a great thing would be, because they're numbered, like every paragraph is numbered. You could be interested to do videos, and I basically read it through, but read through the different maybe 2 or 3 translations.
Compare and contrast. I have to say I like the Selincourt translation. I know it's probably very old-fashioned now, but I think it's a nice one.
I like it, and well, that's the only one I've read. So
it was the first one I read, and I like it as well. I mean, I read Holland, and it was fine. It was nice. It was nice to have something a little bit more modern, but Selincourt was great.
Yeah.
Ah, yes. And if you're going to accept the gods from Sanskrit, then how far back do you go? Yeah. If they're real, if you believe they are. Thank you, Andrew. I'll take that as a viaticum. Yes, thank you. Yeah, right. Well, I'll tell you, the voices in my head, big hard books. That's Alan. The voices in my head are they're very vocal. Sorry, guys.
I thought that when reading about the god Amen, right? Pictures are exploring finding the statues. Well, that's the thing. It's like Greek. I mean, not Greek. Sorry, Egyptian gods, or because there's the Greek version of the gods' names, like that they called them, and then there's the Roman version, and there's an English version, or even the pharaohs. It's like, the big pyramid. Is it Cheops or Khufu?
Right.
Same person.
Didn't someone send you a book on Egyptian? What's at the same time they sent the Herodotus?
Yeah, I can reach it here.
Good man.
This is kind of cool. I haven't really looked at it yet, but it's Tale of Shinhu. Well, I don't know the pronunciation properly. And other Egyptian poems. 1940 to 1640 BC.
Wow, time machine time. Can you say typo?
But I love this because, like, in here, the tale of Shinhui, or however it's pronounced, has about 15 pages of notes.
Wait a minute. Could you say the dates on the front again?
1940 BC.
Yeah.
To 16. But okay, fine, whatever.
Yeah,
but I just like the 1940 because it's like, I'm sure somebody would say, "Oh, that's got to be a misprint."
I just did. I just did. Yeah, shame on me.
But yeah, no, this looks pretty good. There is another one that's by Penguin that I have. That's what's it? Oh, I couldn't remember his name. Wilkinson? Is it Tony or Wilkinson? He's written a lot of stuff on
Toby Wilkinson.
That's it. Yeah, and he's done a collection. But there is a new one apparently that's just come out that Penguin's put out on Egypt stuff, and they have some like accounting letters and everything. They've got a really more wider look. What do you mean faded away?
Oh, them's fighting words, Andrew.
No, I learned about them as well.
You're the only one. I don't think you're the only one. I think that Asterix. Oh yeah. I have the entire collection, which my son added to the library when he moved in. What a good boy.
I want to see what that. I didn't look it up. The new Egyptian literature one. I'm curious to see what that. Writings from Ancient Egypt, is that it? No, that's 2016.
That's true, Aaron.
Too contemporary there.
Well, I go there finally. Come on.
Dude. Oh, now we lost them all. Okay. Great big bloody thing. Yeah. Nice.
What are these here? There's the Writings from Ancient Egypt. Oh, that might be it. That might be the new one. When did this come out? No, that's 2016, so that can't be it.
2016 BC or?
Sorry?
2016 BC or when? Oh, we can't say BC anymore, can we? What is it? BC.
Can do. I can if you want to. It's my party.
Well, it's supposed to be the Common Era and before the Common Era.
BC.
Yeah, I know. But I'm old. to say whatever I want, and the older I get, the more I can say, right? I just can't always say it in public.
Oh, this might, I don't know if this is it. When is this? Detail. I'm just
You surfing the internets?
yeah, I don't know where it is. But there's I was told there's apparently a new one, and I'm not sure, and I wanted to look at it because
By Toby Wilkinson or somebody else?
No, I think it's somebody else because the Toby Wilkinson one is older.
Right.
I have it here. I have it here somewhere. It's in behind. It's on the bookcase here and behind me. But I don't know what the new one is.
And it's strict. It's like a sort of a more overall Egyptology book, or it's specific about something.
Well, it's just writings. It's ancient Egyptian writings apparently, and it's got things like they said like accountancy bits in. So it's not just your typical ones. They've got some other ones like they hopefully maybe some Amarna letters. I'd love to get a nice. Nobody's really put out a sort of a popular collection of the Amarna letters. You know, there's so much stuff like that, or there's just so many things that are just so cool that is ancient Egypt. It's the Daryl Medina. There's all the poetry. That's I'm sure some of that's going to be in here. The pornography is kind of cool too, from Daryl Medina. And the letters to say,
oh, the letters.
Yeah, well, there's letters to say, like, you know, Bob can't go to work today because he was in a bar fight last night. And that's sort of what these little notes are. Like, I'm obviously making up names, but they're things like
those notes that were immortalized forever after the earthquake in Pompeii.
Oh yeah.
Which is it's just like frozen in time. Things that nobody would have ever saved. Whoa. But cool. In your case, though, the letters were saved. How were they? Or they were on papyrus, though, right? They would be on papyrus.
No, well, it's mostly on what they call it ostraca, but it's limestone chips that the workmen do.
To work because he was in a bar fight carved in stone. Oh dear.
The Daryl Medina was the village for the workmen who worked who did the tombs, and so the limestone chips they wrote on and they were thrown in wells. And
they didn't they had a boatload of limestone.
Isn't that surprising though that just these ordinary builders could write?
No, that's the thing. There was a lot.
Oh, sorry.
There was a lot of people didn't know how to read and write. That's the other thing. Not every single person, but these were skilled people. These were skilled people. They were artisans. They were skilled. They were very skilled.
Were they writing in letters? They wouldn't have been the hieroglyph because that was the holy.
Hieratic. It's a more cursive. It's a more cursive one. And there is a great 3-volume set by Miriam Lichtman, I think it is. That's really, really good. That goes through the Old Kingdom, New Kingdom, and a really good survey of material.
That I might need to find. I might need to find that.
How does Will Durant leave out? How much does Will Durant leave out in his historical opus? Well, a lot of stuff, but it's a general history, and I enjoyed it. I've read it through the whole thing, and I read the ancient volumes a few times. I don't know if anybody else have you read any of that, Mark or Felicity?
No, I've been actually trying to acquire the whole set. I've got some like weird, like 1 volume in the 18th century or something, and it's one that's kind of on my list. But I've kind of gotten to a moratorium on getting large sets of things because I have no place to put anything. So either I have to purge. I hate the thought of purging, but I'm not gonna have any room for anything unless I do.
Yeah, well, it's okay. It's like, to me, it's sort of like, it's a little more accurate, but it's sort of like Wikipedia on heroin. It's got a little more to it. That's
very tempting. That sounds great.
He's on a Duke for
BG and AG.
and AG. Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
Hope hi Ryan. Hope you saw my video today. Dream sequence nudity presidential.
Sounds like
missed that one.
Hit. I haven't watched anything today. Actually, I haven't even seen your Sean that you put up today. So.
I've been thinking of going through all the poems. Yeah, I think they're fine. Like it's like if you want sort of general history, I think they're okay. Like there's nothing wrong with them. Well, I suppose so, Andrew. Yeah, but they're not academic history. They're just popular history. And they're popular history that was perfect for the time they wrote them. But again, things, there's new interpretation. There's new things that come to light. And they obviously couldn't get those. It's the same as anything popular now, like anything by Random House that's written would be fine now. But 20, 30, 50 years from now, maybe not.
Yeah, then for that, we'd need to have Lem's. So in the imaginary magnitude, this is another one I've been trying to finish up. There's that it's prefaces to books that don't exist, and I mentioned that one too. It has this advertisement for an encyclopedia for the future times. It's written as things happen. So you summon the volume of the encyclopedia that you want, and it comes down, and as you're reading it, it tells you how it's going to be in the future. So you see, that's what Durant's going to be old hat. It's going to be like only the future from now on. Ooh, indeed. Yeah, well, I'll go check out Ryan's video after this. Whose videos did I watch this morning? It was my coffee video watching. I might have watched Sean. Of course, right? I watched one. Yeah, I watched one of each. I think I watched one of yours, Sean. I think which one was it? Oh yes, the nonsense one.
Oh yeah,
that. Yeah. And Michael Vaughn's confessional, and yeah, there you are.
Yeah, that was kind of nice finding that. I don't know where I put it now.
Which one? Oh, the book.
Yeah. But yeah, it's because I basically lost it for 4 years because I put it with all the everymens, and it somehow when I was putting it's exact size of an old everyman library book. So I somehow got stuck in behind in the back shelf, sort of storage in a sense, and I've been looking for it. High and low. I've pulled off at various times every book off my bookcases of essays, thinking that it might have got, like you do get books occasionally that go this way and behind, and then they get hidden. No, couldn't find it. Now I've lost it again.
Well, so aside from the 250 extra years that I'm going to live so that I can, learn everything that's to be learned, I'm also going to develop a fourth dimensional feature to my library that will allow me to have more shelves so that I can have a Warburgian style of cataloging, because I aspire to never lose a book ever again, that every book will have a sensible, organic place where it belongs next to the book that recommends it.
Well, you just need a TARDIS.
No, I need to have something that branches off, or like what is in Terry Pratchett is the S library. The library that the library that's greater than the library that's greater than the actual dimension that it's in, so that you can go in and store all these things that you really don't have room for in your boring physical 3-dimensional library. The time dimension, well, yes, there is that too.
Yeah, that's all we need is like sort of a bookcase, one bookcase that you can put every book on that you ever have or ever will have, and it'll always be there. And anytime you want to look at it, you'll see it. That's what you're talking about.
No, I'm actually talking about. So I think it's S-dimensional space and Terry Pratchett, where he describes it's in the unseen. It's in the wizard's Hangout Academy. I'm forgetting now. I should probably find that out. And the library that the wizards have is like, there's the part that you go into, but then there's this extra space that you go into that you have to be with a librarian to get to, and it's pretty dangerous because these these magical books are quite ferocious, and they have to be chained down, many of them, and they have to be hit periodically over the head to keep them from misbehaving. But the thing that really grabs you is this S space, which is like this extra dimension, which is go-inable. It's not like really fourth dimension, which is more like a pocket you dump stuff in, like the time dimension. It's more like a real space that doesn't exist in this one, like a wormhole kind of a thing.
Yeah, I kind of wonder, like that description of Terry Pratchett. I wonder if he was doing something different with that description of the books.
I don't know, man. I know you don't like your modern stuff so much, but I really dig Terry Pratchett. I have everything that he wrote. I have all the science books that he did in conjunction with Ian Stewart and Jack whatever, I forget his name. And I think some books just resonate with us. I really dig Terry Pratchett. There you go. My secret advice.
Yeah, so Ryan's losing the subscriber.
Clickbait.
Mike, I like Mike Kavon, but in the past week, he's got me worried. I knew he was Californian, but recently admitted he's a vegan. I think we got unsubscribed from Michael Kavon now. He's a vegan.
Can't. He's a really funny guy. Besides, he likes Thucydides or Thucydides or however. Oh, reread Terry Pratchett. Yeah, Alexis, I'm afraid that I'm on the far side of reread. It's like, oh, I need to read that one again. We free men. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking about beating the books that he might have went to the Czech Republic around Easter.
Right. Yeah, so he Terry Pratchett, people kind of dismiss him because he's a very funny guy. It's like, oh yeah, he's just the funny guy with a funny world. But the footnotes are very pointed commentaries on our political times. And he's
in the fiction books, the footnotes.
Oh yeah, the footnotes in all of Discworld books, the footnotes are half the fun. And he is totally taking the piss out of a lot of modern contemporary politicians and modern poobahs. Just you recognize him, you go like, oh my god, that's so funny. Wait, I know who that is.
I never knew there was footnote because I never read any of them, but that makes it interesting.
Well, you kind of have to like fancy a little bit just to get started on them, because you say Discworld, like, I mean, whatever. And this is what I said until I read the first one. I probably checked it out of the library and I went, dang, this stuff is great. And I'm laughing my fool head off. The footnotes, I mean, some of them, the footnotes get really big. Sometimes they're small. Sometimes they footnote the footnotes. And the footnotes are all they are all taking the piss out of somebody modern.
There's footnotes in 50 Shades of Grey, Sean. Didn't you see them? Or?
Oh, whoops.
I have no idea. I've tried to, but I picked it up in I think it was the Oxfam shop here one time, and I finally thought I'd take a look at it, and I opened it up randomly, and I go, I could probably type better than that with my toes.
I'm afraid I felt that way about Twilight, because I like fantasy, and I thought this is rubbish. But how can I call it rubbish unless I try? So it is the only book that I have ever returned back to my bookseller and said, I don't actually want any money back. Please just take this and sell it to somebody who wants it. Because speaking of exorcisms, I need this out of my house. This is rubbish.
Well, that reminds me where here, like the Sun and the Daily Mail used to have free DVDs with them, but you had to buy the paper. So I'd go into like W.H. Smith's, and you got to go to the counter with the newspaper to pay for the newspaper, and you get the thing. And then I'd leave the newspaper, and they're going, well, we don't want. I said, no, I don't want the newspaper. I just wanted the DVD. And they never understood that, because no, I don't want that newspaper.
It is just rubbish.
Yeah.
But the thing that was funny, it was like they were saying, well, you really need to take it. And I said, no. And there was a guy behind me that the one time he had one. He was going to buy the newspaper, and I said, "Well, do you want the DVD?" And he said, "No, he just wants the newspaper." Well, here's mine. I paid for it, and they didn't like that. They
I
didn't
bet
like
they didn't. I bet they didn't. Oh, dear.
Anyway,
I think I'm going to have to go, but
Yeah.
you
I've
guys.
been turning into a pumpkin for the last half hour. I need to go and do something soothing to my poor old knees. But this has been, look at that, an hour and a half. I actually can't believe I lasted that long. This has
Time
been
flies
great.
when you're having fun, right? So
Yeah, I know, it's true. Anyway, thank you very much for inviting me, Shawn and Mark. I had a good time.
yeah. So, and we'll be back Wednesday, I guess, at our usual time. And then again Saturday and possibly Friday. It depends, like how we go.
I'll try to finally pick you up guys live. Yeah, right. All right. Well, bye for now.
all right, everyone.
All right,
Bye.
everyone.
Take care.